more
Raisins.
green in it, but it's very simple.
These kids.
I'm thinking about going a tone grayer.
Are you?
Just
Yeah, to give it a little,
Yeah, and also just for change. And,
Yeah, I feel you.
And I'm thinking of having that room painted white, actually. So,
That room?
yeah,
Oh, yeah, okay.
with all the wood and then.
That color is actually very similar to the color that we have in our living room.
That one was called macadamia nut.
Maybe we could have studies at your place.
Yeah, we can. I've got mine's called Killam Beige,
Okay.
and then the one that we have in our front room is called Sea Salt.
Yes, I've thought about doing sea salt.
Sea Salt.
What?
I have a
Brand.
Sherwin-Williams.
That's where I have my account. So.
Yeah, so we only we just
There are cookies.
I need to paint a pantry, the shelves. Is that a special kind of paint or is it just regular?
You just want a
make sure
latex
it's a latex. Yeah.
because it's wipeable.
Yeah.
Okay, because I'm gonna put down paper or plastic
Mhm.
after I finish. but
Yeah.
I thought I need to figure out.
You can
I need to get.
Oh, like a shelf paper.
Yeah.
I got it at IKEA and it's just kind of the nice thick plastic.
The
So I thought-
white plasticky ones?
It's
or-
clear.
I've seen
Oh,
that.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because moving
Mhm.
cans and stuff, even on latex leaves a
Oh, yeah.
black mark and stuff. So I thought, but mine, I've painted it a couple times, and so it's like peeling off on the edges.
Mhm.
So I got a sander to try to sand it. And I'm not in town long enough to do it because I hate to take everything out and start and then not be able to finish.
Right. Although really letting it set up really good before you put all that on.
Yes,
So, I mean,
Yes,
you could sort of do that and leave town
Right.
and it wouldn't be bad.
that's true. That's very
And
true.
both your sons live here, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So if you ever need some food taken, I need you guys to go to the house. Everything on this wall on this shelf needs to be eaten or taken. Okay.
Yeah, they would go for that. They would go for that.
So is it next week you're going to a wedding or is it?
Yes, I'm leaving next Wednesday, so I won't be there.
I was confused about Sunday going, is Diana coming next week or is next week the wedding? Or, it was
Yeah.
like, no, that was like.
So that wedding that you went to, did they have those?
Yes,
Okay,
it
so a guy-
was yours.
So a guy came in today, right before we were closing, and walks in, and he grabs like 6 of them, and he goes, "I heard about this place. I went to a wedding, and these were the wedding favors." And he's like, 6 of them. He's like, "I'm so glad you guys are here." I'm like, it was so funny.
I wonder if it was her brother.
I don't know. He had like crazy hair.
Oh no.
Okay.
Well, what was really funny was I had talked to the mom,
Mm-hmm.
and she goes, "Yeah, those are." And so then when we got in there, they were the dark chocolate ones. And those were awful tasty too.
I'm a dark chocolate lover.
They were very.
I like
very
our
tasty.
dark better
Yeah.
than I like.
Yeah, they were very good. So yeah, but it was kind of funny. Her mom was like, "I can't believe."
Mhm.
And then my sister came in to buy candy to take up to Ben and Nicole and Finn. And she thinks she waited on her.
Oh, it's
And
probably
she
me.
kept saying, you gave her a truffle after she bought a couple boxes of candy. So she went in the car and she ate the truffle and then she came back in.
Oh yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
I said, that was,
Yeah.
How many
that's
times
my
did you do that?
I know. She said, that was so good, I have to have some more.
Yeah, they're so good.
What
Our
are the ones
truffle.
that the English truffles ones that I like? You bring them for the freezer? What are those ones?
Those are the European truffles.
Oh,
that
man.
I don't sample those out, but we should start sampling those
Oh,
out.
man.
People would buy those over the other truffles.
Really?
Oh, man.
What's the
And then
difference?
she didn't
You
give
gotta
it
keep
to
them in
her.
the freezer.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah, you
But
get
I
the
like
ones in the
freezer
freezer.
stuff.
The ones in the
I
freezer.
put the cookies in the freezer
Um,
because
yeah.
they're
it's
harder.
all like soft. It's like the soft ganache that's on the inside of the.
Okay.
The other truffles we have like a hard shell. The one that we have in the freezer is just covered in cocoa.
Oh,
So
okay.
good.
So it's like the inside without.
It's the
shell.
ones that when people come in and they're like, "I need a truffle that goes with wine," I'm like, "Freezer? That's the fancy wine truffle."
Yeah.
It's really good.
Funny.
Yeah.
I like-
Now I want to have a party.
In
Sorry.
fact, speaking of that, when is the tea?
December 3rd.
Okay, that is a Saturday though.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think that's good. My friend's turning 70 and she wants to go to the James Tea Room.
Okay.
And they tried to get this day, it's
Oh.
already booked.
Uh-huh. I
on
know, I
Saturdays
know.
at St. James's Foot.
Mm-hmm.
So we went to the day before.
Okay,
So I'm good. I'll have tea 2 days in a row.
you'll be on a happy
Yeah.
night.
What time, do you know what time we're gonna be doing that?
I usually do 1 o'clock.
Okay. I
I
wonder if I
need to
could
write it down. I can't remember.
work for a little bit and then take off.
Yeah, I would, you know,
Probably.
go in the morning and
Yeah, and I'll come
zoom right in here at
zoom in.
That'd be great. I'm inviting all the ladies from this Bible study and then all the ladies from my Saturday morning Bible study. Some of whom are the same, and you've met, like Maria and Keto. I guess I'll close the
Did
door.
somebody come?
No, this is it.
Oh, okay.
You can spread out. Whatever you
Well, I thought this was somebody's too.
We're just hiding from the camera.
Yeah, stay away from the camera. Has anybody heard from Paula and Bill how things are going?
Not a word.
Yeah, go ahead. We have 2 more minutes before we're supposed to go. We're online. Currently, James is out there. Doug and Patty have joined us. Scott and Maria. So,
I sent Bill the same video about the Western Gate.
yeah.
Loved it. Loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Man, there's a lot. I lean that way. I would say, where else?
Well, in order for his wife, okay, when Pontius
She
Pilate,
watched.
yeah, she watched, yeah. I mean, Pontius Pilate lives in what was Herod's palace, in the nicest, highest ground.
Mhm.
He's got a barracks
Mhm.
for his cohort. You only got one cohort down at the Antonia Fortress. It's big enough for about 400 guys
So
and their horses.
Saturday.
There's a gate, there's a separate gate that goes into the palace
Okay.
Sunday.
down there.
I noticed.
And there's a raised platform where he could have walked out the gate under guard, pronounced the sentence. She could have been watching from, on the
Well, first of all,
wall.
let me tell you what it was.
And the crowd's
They
going,
had
yes,
expired.
crucify him, crucify him,
It was
crucify him.
not, but
And then
she
you just
said
go
that they had told her
A
it was
little bit
lifetime
north
one.
along the
Yeah.
Joppa Road,
She didn't realize
then it
every 4
turns
years you
towards
have to
the road to
reapply.
Jericho.
Mhm.
And
So
right
it was
there,
just an expired.
a
Guess
rock
how much
quarry,
it was?
which was
$250.
the church is now the Church of the Holy
that's
Sepulchre,
nice.
but it was outside the wall
She just
because the
texted me
wall
and
that
took it off.
included it
She
didn't
was-
get built
she went
until
and got
after
her
40
The
AD.
new one, she took it all down.
So
to the
I'm-
church,
Where the
she
Church of the Holy
explained
Sepulchre is
everything,
where he would have been
And they
crucified.
had to send the appeal in to some
Well, that-
commission to decide.
Thereabouts.
whether they would, lower it or
It's-
give us a warning or whatever.
We're not sure.
And she just texted me, she said that they took it off.
Oh.
Saved us both a little bit of money. I would have never, I didn't know.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Well, and I wouldn't have known, I knew she put it up, but, because we have done it where we forget to put it up. But we didn't get a ticket that time. Why?
Okay, we're all going to be reading a lot tonight. You know?
Yay.
Yeah,
And
Wear
where
my glasses on.
I know.
Yeah,
I have
really.
my glasses.
and where are we starting?
we're starting in 24, verse 29, because Eleazar tells the story to Laban and Bethuel after he gets to their house. So, all right. First, greetings to everybody that's out there. We are at the point where Eleazar of Damascus, the loyal servant of Abraham, has gone to Haran, which is a short journey from way down here to way up there, with 10 camels loaded with gifts for his master's relatives. His goal is to bring back a virgin bride to Isaac, but Isaac is not allowed to leave the land. And the servant only asks one question. Okay, boss, if they won't let the girl come, can I come back, get your son, and we'll go back up together? And Abraham says, no, he can't leave the land. God's promises this land. He's got to stay here. So Eleazar, with that, swears he will go and get a bride from Abraham's family. He gets to the gate of Haran, and he says, Lord, just show favor to my master, show favor to me, that I can finish this task quickly. A servant is supposed to do what his master wants quickly, joyfully. And as we read through the scriptures tonight, you'll see Eleazar modeling that servant behavior, bringing back the bride to his master's son. Okay, let's go in prayer and then we'll get started. Father, thank you for your word. Thank you for the narrative that you've given us to see how a servant should behave. Who is a good servant? Who's a bad servant? Help us to be good servants to you. In your name, amen. Oh, I did have this is a very Hebrew comment, but there is the Hebrew word for testing, nisa. And Laura pointed out that she and I we're in a Hebrew class together, and she said, okay, nisa shows up in Genesis 22:1 for tested, rather than, as I read last week, lech leheh, which is leave. It's an imperative, you must go. The difference, I do not understand why Nisa shows up in this particular Hebrew translation, because in the Masoretic text, which I went back to and looked after Laura sent me a note, I went, wait a minute, that can't be right, has the imperative leave or go. Go, take your son up to Mount Moriah, sacrifice him. And we went through that last week, but I don't understand why the author of the interlinear Hebrew-English Bible put Nasa there, because he didn't put it in Genesis 12:1 when Abram is told to go, leave your father's house, go to a land that I will show you. So even going back to the Hebrew, you've got to be careful which Hebrew version you're using. But I really appreciate that Laura was able to do that. And yes, I do like questions, folks. If you're out there, have questions, send them. You'll see my neck go and to see if I can read it, and then I'll try and answer it. Okay. Well, I guess, Chris, you're up, and we're going, you got the short one. You're easy. 24, 29 through 33.
Now Rebekah had a brother whose name was Laban. Laban ran out to the man by the well. So it came to pass, when he saw the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrists, and when he heard the words of his sister Rebekah saying, thus the man spoke to me, that he went to the man, and there he stood by the camels at the well. And he said, come in, O blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside? For I have prepared the house and a place for the camels.
Okay. Anybody remember who Laban is?
Well, it's Rebekah's brother.
Okay.
No.
Okay. When Jacob leaves, his father-in-law is Laban. Laban is kind of sharp operator. Think of a used car salesman in a real
that's the same Laban.
lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
same Laban.
All right.
His sister comes running in and says, a man just gave me 2 bracelets and a nose ring, and they're all made out of gold. And he's going boing, 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 kind of like the old cartoon dollar signs popping out of the eyes. And she's already told Eleazar, there's plenty of fodder, there's plenty of room, there's straw for your animals. You can camp there tonight, no problem. Plenty of room at my father's house. Laban goes, well, I have got the fodder ready for it, and I've got the straw ready. I've got, come on down. and he's grandstanding. It appears that his father may be older because Laban does most of the negotiation. And that's what it is, negotiation for Rachel's hand in marriage, for the betrothal. But Eleazar is a very good servant.
And they're in Haran.
They're in Haran. They're way up on the bend of the Euphrates, up here, nearer to what would be Turkey. You're in northern Syria. So you've come a long way to find where the relatives of your master live. And for those of you out there, I did send a map with of this, and it also includes the ever popular genealogy. We'll be getting into that tonight, if we get that far. Which I hope. Okay.
We know Chris didn't study the genealogy because he was unsure who Laban was. Shame on Chris.
No.
But now it's all coming back
Yeah. Well, that's
because they keep marrying back to the same family within the same family.
there was it's all first cousins getting married.
So fast forward 20 years, Jacob is trying to get Rachel.
Not Rebecca, Rachel. Rebecca is the young lady in question tonight. You got to keep your R's right.
I know, so much.
That's why I sent you a scorecard.
So Laban's sister rather than Laban's daughter.
Yes. Okay. How about 34 through 41?
Okay, 34 through 41.
No,
Yep.
32.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
32.
sorry.
That's okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I think we stopped
I
there.
thought I said go all the way to 33 with you, Chris.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
Oh, let's let Chris read through 33. I mean, that's
I'll do it.
yeah. Got to save.
So the man went to the house, and the camels were unloaded. Straw and fodder were brought for the camels, and water for him and his men to wash their feet. Then food was set before him, but he said, "I will not eat until I have told you what I have to say." "Then tell us," Laban said. So he said, "I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has blessed my master abundantly, and he has become wealthy. He has given him sheep and cattle, silver and gold, men servants and maidservants, and camels and donkeys. My master's wife Sarah has borne him a son in her old age, and he has given him everything he owns. And my master made me swear an oath and said, 'You must not get a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I live, but go to my father's family and to my own clan and get a wife for my son.' Then I asked my master, 'What if the woman will not come back with me?' He replied, 'The Lord before whom I have walked will send his angel with you and make your journey a success, so that you can get a wife for my son from my own clan and from my father's family. Then, when you go to my clan, you will be released from my oath. Even if they refuse to give her to you, you will be released from my oath.'"
Okay. Under hospitality, you normally would sit down, have a meal, talk about everything in the world except business. Eleazar turns out on its head. Says, "Great, you put a beautiful feast out. I really appreciate it, but I can't eat until I've conducted my business." He's reversing the cultural process. And he explains why, that, my master made me swear I had to come to the right house, to the right family. You guys are it. But here's the deal. If you won't let the young lady come back with me, we're done. Laban doesn't want to hear that. His sister has gotten 2 bracelets and her nose ring, and there are piles of goodies outside being guarded by Eleazar's men that probably are chests of gold. I am reading into that, but Laban goes for the main chance. and notice Laban is the one saying, well, shoot, say it's not his father. It should be his father unless he is taking over more and more of the business. So Laban is really already in charge of that clan. His father's probably still alive, but he is not conducting business for the clan.
And his father, Abraham's brother, isn't mentioned again. So he's at a point where he's incontinent, or he has passed, or something's going on. Okay.
Now, something has happened.
He's here somewhere. But at some point, they talk about the parents.
Okay.
I think at the very end of something.
Well, if it's at the end, we'll catch it.
Okay.
Okay. So it's real clear what Eleazar is there for. Now we get the response. He says, here's what I prayed, and here's what the young lady did. That's 42 through 49.
Maybe I'm wrong. I see a lot with her mother without her father being there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Milcah is mentioned. The father, I didn't think was, but
42 through what? 49?
42 through 49.
Okay. When I came to the spring today, I said, Lord, God of my master Abraham, if you will, please grant success to the journey on which I have come. See, I am standing beside the spring. If a young woman comes out to draw water and I say to her, please let me drink a little water from your jar, and if she says to me, drink and I'll draw water for your camels too, let her be the one that the Lord has chosen for my master's son. Before I finished praying in my heart, Rebekah came out with her jar on her shoulder. She went down to the spring and drew water, and I said to her, please give me a drink. She quickly lowered her jar from her shoulder and said, drink and I'll water your camels too. So I drank, and she watered the camels also. I asked her, whose daughter are you? The daughter of Bethuel, son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him. Then I put the ring on her nose and the bracelets on her arms, and I bowed down and worshiped the Lord. I praised the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who had led me on the right road to get the granddaughter of my master's brother for his son. Now, if you will show kindness and faithfulness to my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, so I may know which way to turn. Oh, here, listen to this. Laban and Bethuel answered.
She had to get that one in, folks. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
He's there somewhere.
Okay. So he is present. Laban's doing the talking, but he is present. Oh, shoot. Let me clear that. And he's very blunt. You've got a feast laid out. Tell me what your decision is now. Because if it's not a yes, I need to know whether to turn to the right or the left. Are there other cousins here? Is it, he's already making plans for, if this isn't the right place, this is the right woman, we're done. Thank you very much. This is very brusque behavior in this culture. But he's fixated on, the boss told me to do this. I'm doing it. I'm doing it as expeditiously as I can. And that will be continued through the rest of the story. Any questions on what's going on? They're not in a tent. They're sitting in a house.
Is Rachel at the dinner?
No, Rachel hasn't been born. Rebecca might.
Rebecca.
Rebecca, yeah. The R identification question. Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna get us. Yeah, they're gonna get us.
Yeah, they're going to get. But she probably would not be present. That would not be appropriate.
Mm.
This is men sitting around doing business. And yes, Patsy, that's misogynist. Sorry. Welcome to Scripture. Okay.
So the brothers, Laban and Bethuel, are brothers. The older brothers of Rebekah.
Okay.
Because Nahor, it would be the dad, and he's not mentioned.
They are talking, though, about granddaughter. Hang on. Okay. Get the granddaughter of my master's brother, Nahor.
Mhm.
Okay. Right. So this would be Nahor to Bethuel. Laban is a brother to Rebecca.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
You can't tell the players without a scorecard.
Yeah.
Okay, so Reuben is Rebecca's.
So other questions? Good. Okay. Am I up or are you still to go?
I'm still to go.
You're still stuck. Good. Okay. So we go 50 through 53.
Laban and Bethuel answered, "This is from the Lord. We can say nothing to you one way or the other. Here is Rebekah. Take her and go, and let her become the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has directed." When Abraham's servant heard what they said, he bowed down to the ground before the Lord. Then the servant brought out gold and silver jewelry and articles of clothing and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave costly gifts to her brother and to her mother.
He carried a lot of gold and silver with him, and probably in the form of jewelry. This is the bride price. And he's immediately delivering the bride price while they're sitting at dinner. I can see his men coming in, with a chest. Okay, these garments, they should go to the mother. They should go to the bride. He's giving gifts to everybody present, which I'm sure was very popular with the family. Anybody here not like to get, a
Gold.
stack of 25 Cougarons, as a surprise gift? We're talking 10 camels worth of treasure and garments. And this is above and beyond what they would expect.
And weren't they a prosperous family already?
Oh, yeah.
I I don't know how wealthy, but but this is more gold is always better, right?
Yeah. That's what Rockefeller said. How much is
Just
enough? Just
right?
a little bit more.
Mhm.
And that's certainly Laban's philosophy of life.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll pick it up in 54 through 61. Then he and his men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night there. They had a party celebrating the betrothal of Isaac and Rebekah. And I'm sure there was a good deal of alcohol consumed. When they got up the next morning, he, Eleazar, said, "Send me on my way to my master." But her brother and mother replied, "Let the girl remain with us for 10 days or so, then you may go." But he said to them, "Do not detain me now. Now that the Lord has granted success to my journey, send me on my way so I can go to my master." Then they said, "Let's call the girl and ask her about it." So they called Rebekah and asked her, "Would you go with this man?" "I will go." No hesitation. She's ready to go next morning. So they sent their sister Rebekah on her way, along with her nurse and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, "Our sister, may you increase to thousands upon thousands. May your offspring prosper in the gates of their enemies." Then Rebekah and her maids got ready, mounted their camels, and went back with the man. So the servant took Rebekah and left. This is less than 24 hours from the time he showed up at the spring. This is a hasty betrothal. And I wonder why Rebekah was so ready to go. Just looking at the treasure that's
Well, she's
been
been
brought.
getting jugs of water all day. I'd leave too. What's your job? I jug water. Like I jug water all day, every day.
All those stinking camels.
Hey,
I sometimes wonder if her brother's demeanor might have something to do with it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of the Cinderella story of the stepsisters getting everything and the
Mhm.
daughter does all the work. And no, that's not in the Bible, Scott. I'm just reading in a little bit, giving a metaphor. Look at the blessing. Our sister, may you increase to thousands upon thousands. May you have many offspring. May your offspring possess the gates of their enemies. So may your sons be successful warriors and conquerors. This is a very martial blessing from Laban and probably mom, possibly Bethuel. We're not told who speaks it, but to the blessing to have many children, that's normal. But may your offspring possess the gates of their enemies. These guys are looking for the main chance.
NIV says cities of the enemy.
Cities of the enemy.
Same.
Scott's comment is, she must have been listening behind the tent curtain and was amazed by all the wealth, laughing out loud. No, I mean, you don't know who's coming. This is an absolute surprise to her, but she's willing to go with them immediately. This is obedience to the call of God. I've heard that sermon preached, but it's a great example of the servant's heart to take the command, go and do it for the master. We can read a lot of things into why Rebecca was ready to leave just now, but we're not told. So
You imagine that she's probably heard about the other family that lives down south, and you said there was communication between
there is
the
communication, yeah.
two, and so she would know how wealthy they were, and
Oh yeah.
plus, kids like to adventuresome
Oh
and
yeah.
something
Yeah.
different, like you said, get away from the camels and
Yeah.
good job.
Well,
Let's
it's
go.
better than marrying Habib down the
Yeah.
block. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, but she doesn't know that, really.
Yeah. She's buying a pig in a poke here.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know how they would consider themselves, but marrying Isaac, and if she has any, even remotely, as you were saying, remotely, an understanding of how wealthy Abraham, who Abraham is, she'd almost be like a sheik's princess.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's quite a step up from hauling jugs of water for camels.
Right.
And Isaac is the only son.
Yes.
Yeah,
That was
that's
pointed
true.
out by Eleazar. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So she is going to be the main wife.
And my master has given him all that he possesses. Yeah, it's quite a bow there. You
Yeah.
know?
I still think that God prepared her.
I do
Oh, yeah.
too.
Oh,
I
sure.
think
Sure.
I mean, I really, all of that we can
Mhm.
talk about.
Yep.
And it's maybe part of it.
Mhm.
That's definitely part of Laban's motivation.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not so sure about her.
Do we know if she had any sisters, or was she the only girl?
I would have to go back and look. I
Okay.
think sisters are not normally named,
Right.
Mhm.
but we might have it on the cheat sheet. Let's see. Rebecca, no, she is the sister of Laban, but I haven't got, I didn't go for a
Yeah.
genealogy that went all the way out. It gets a little big as is. Okay, since we don't have other questions that I can answer anyway, Chris, how about finishing out the chapter?
62.
There you go. Pretty much.
Now Isaac came from the way of Beer-lahai, for he dwelt in the south. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field in the evening, and he lifted his eyes and looked. And there the camels were coming. Then Rebekah lifted her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from her camel For she had said to the servant, "Who is this man walking in the field to meet us?" The servant said, "It is my master." So she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all the things that he had done. Then Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and he took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. So Isaac was comforted after his mother's death.
Anybody want to comment on this? I mean, this is an incredibly romantic story,
I was
right?
just gonna say it's very romantic.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can picture it like a movie.
Oh yeah, I mean,
And there's got to be a sunset.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
yeah, but if it were a Hallmark, when does the old boyfriend show up? But,
Right.
See, it's up there. That
Yeah.
romantic picture
Yeah.
and the sunset.
Isaac is an unusual man. He's fairly quiet. He's walking. He doesn't know they're coming. You don't, get on your cell phone. We made it to Jericho, boss. I'll be home in 3 days. He knew
Does he even know he went?
probably.
He would know Eliezer went because he's not living with Abraham.
Right, that's. what
That's
that
true.
was.
He's living in the South.
So Eliezer could have gone and come back without Isaac even knowing.
We're not told if he knew. I know that's pesky, but
Mhm.
but he recognizes Eleazar. He recognizes the camels. Probably they would have similar, his family's equipment.
Mhm.
Yeah, he sees them coming and starts walking towards them. She sees the young man in the fields. In Hebrew, the word is pastures, not planted fields. And she goes, "Who is it?" And Eliezer says, "That's my master." Remember, Abraham has given him all that he owns, so Isaac is his master.
Mhm.
How old is Eleazar at this point? Think about what we studied previously.
Ancient.
He picked up Eleazar out of Egypt.
Perhaps before.
Perhaps
He may have
before.
come south.
So I mean, if Abraham's right at or over 100,
Yeah.
Eleazar's got to be in his 70s or 80s.
Yeah. His major domo is not a spring chicken,
Mhm.
but Eleazar quickly goes. He doesn't let infirmity stop him.
Mhm.
So there's no marriage ceremony like the Jewish
No, there's
wedding,
you,
all of that. Yeah.
no, you don't have a canopy, you don't crush a shot glass, none of that.
But you don't have the two, and that's a certain, but the time before you get married that you're engaged
Nope.
or whatever.
Not at this point.
Hmm.
That all came as the Jews entered the land and began settling, and the rabbis began, well, even then the learned men, not rabbis, word didn't exist at that point, that they began establishing those kind of traditions, a separate cultural tradition. This tradition is you pay the bride price, the bride comes back to the young man, and they're married. They're married when you pay the bride price.
Mm.
When you exchange gifts with dad, they are betrothed and the marriage is consummated, but there isn't a ceremony like we would expect. No stretch limos, no white dresses.
Well, she got the blessing of her parents.
Yep.
Through her brother. I mean, that would probably be part of all of it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it sounds like she's being sold. So.
Yeah. Sorry.
But for Patsy, let me say, she is asked.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She's
Really?
asked, do you want to stay here for a couple of weeks or do you want to go right now? And she's ready to go.
Yeah.
To second Chris's comment, Isaac brought her into the tent of his mother Sarah, He married Rebekah, so she became his wife. He loved her. You don't hear Abraham loved Sarah. You first hear that Isaac loved Rebekah. Yeah, I try to point out the firsts when you hit them in Genesis.
Cool.
This is a unique first.
She's pretty.
I
I'm in
love
love.
her.
Well, he also is installing her in his mother's tent.
Yeah.
Now, she was the wife, principal wife of the sheik. And her tent technically belonged to her. If he had had multiple wives, each wife would have their own tent. So Sarah's tent, Sarai's tent, has been stood vacant until Rebekah comes. And if you want to stretch this into the New Testament, Jesus said, I go to prepare a place for you, so that where I am, you shall be also. A place was prepared for her, possibly before he knew anyone was being sent to retrieve her. But she immediately moves into the best tent with good furnishings that she had previously shared with Abraham. Because most of the time he's sitting outside of his tent and she's right behind him in the tent. That's her tent, technically. The woman owns the tent. But since he had only one wife, they shared it.
And why is it in the Negev?
Why is it in the Negev? Because he is staying in the land. Abraham,
No, I'm talking about Sarah's tent. I mean, Sarah dies.
yep,
But Sarah wasn't in the Negev. She was more in Hebron.
in Hebron, yeah. He took her with him.
He
Isaac, took the tent with him.
Okay, after she died.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So he was prepared for a bride.
Does he have a tent separate from hers?
At this point, no.
Okay. So
Yeah.
he'd been staying in Sarah's tent.
He could have been. But it doesn't say, it says Sarah's, not his. If it was his tent, quote unquote, it was meant for the wife of the sheik. There is no wife to the sheik now. He took the tent with him. Was he using it? Possibly. But it was the tent for her. It becomes hers when they're married. Because polygamy is a normal thing in this society, and it's kind of like the Chinese symbol for discontent. It's a roof with two pigs in it. Discontent is two women under the same house trying to run it at the same time. The
So
Bedouins,
they each have their own
they
tent.
each have their own tent. And you'll see that when we get to the story of Rachel and Leah and their handmaidens. There are 4 separate tents, and at one point, poor Jacob is sold for the night for mandrakes. He doesn't even get to pick which tent he sleeps in. Talk about a henpecked husband. Okay. And this is a very romantic, this is as romantic as it gets in the book of Genesis. But not to worry, he'll sell her. All right. Any questions on what's going on here? All right. Picking up in chapter 25, verses 1 through 6.
Abraham took another wife whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Midian,
Yep.
Ishbak, and Shuan.
Jokshan was the father of Sheba and
Dedan.
Dedan. The descendants of Dedan were the Asherites, the Leturshites, and the okay. The sons of Midian were say that one.
Okay. The sons of Midian were Ephah,
Ephah,
Epher,
Hanak,
Yeah.
Abida, and Eldah. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac. But while he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east.
Okay. Sheba will show up again. The land of Sheba in Solomon's time. The Queen of Sheba comes to visit. So we're beginning to get place names and sites. Essentially, where he sent them was east. There's Midian, but it's really in this region that we would call Saudi Arabia and Jordan now that he's sending his son. He's sending his sons with gifts, flocks, so they're prepared. It's the same area that Ishmael is really in here, but he also has sons going in this direction. So the Bedouin tribes, the nomadic tribes, really come from Abraham, either through Ishmael or Keturah and her 6 sons. These become the clans of this region. Ophir is further south. Sheba goes much further south, what is now Yemen, basically. So that's where these peoples come from. They are sons of Abraham. Not all Mohammedans, not all followers of Islam are sons of Abraham. We tend to mislabel people and go, oh, they're Arabs, so they must be Muslims, or they're Muslims, so they must be Arabs. I'm sorry. Elam is Persian. They are not Arab. They hate Arabs. They look down on Arabs. Arabs are 2nd or 3rd or 8th class citizens to Persians. That's part of why there are different sects in Islam, but the people in what is now Iran hate the people in Iraq because it's Shia versus Sunni, but it's also hill country, non-Arab with, well, these people have mixed with the Arabs. They're lower. I mean, the class distinctions you can step into if you're not really careful with who you're talking to. And I'm sorry to say our news media has a real problem with Arab, the word. I don't think anyone in Indonesia is an Arab, but there are 80% Islam. So be careful when you use the word Arab, because that should mean actually sons or grandsons of Abraham.
So Jordan, Saudi Arabia, at this point, I'm sure many of them are related and are descended from Abraham
Yes.
at this point.
Yeah, at this point, yes. And if not, they soon will be.
I mean, because even like Ishmael has 12 sons. I mean, holy
Yeah.
smokes, how many he has 12 sons, and those 12 sons, I mean, millions have come from Ishmael.
Yes.
Millions.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is that we say the sons of Abraham. There are lots of sons of Abraham. We are adopted through faith. He was the father of faith. But there are a lot of sons of Abraham who have rightful claim to say, I am a son of Abraham. And Abraham sent them away. He wanted Isaac to get the promised land. And I put out a map earlier in the week of where the promised land extends to. I think it's from the Wadi of Egypt going all the way up to the Euphrates in this region. But that's my read. I know other people, because these are the sons of Abraham, well, the promised land has to stretch all the way down to here and at the top of the entire Euphrates. We can argue about it when we see what actually happens, but I think that's stretching it a wee bit, because the promised land was promised to Abraham, and his seed, as God said, would be reckoned through Isaac, not through Ishmael, not through Keturah's sons. They are indeed sons of Abraham, but they're not sons of the promise.
You could almost argue, because you hear it a lot, especially Palestine, saying that, oh, this is our land, we could be descendants from Ishmael, and he's the firstborn of Abraham. You could almost make the argument to somebody that's Muslim and say, Abraham planned on spreading his seed and establishing his line in many places. And through Genesis, which is also in the Quran and also in the Torah, that sliver is for Isaac's descendants.
Yep.
This sliver is for Ishmael's. This sliver is for these 6 sons. So you could almost argue that.
Yeah, you could get knifed for it if you did. Just say, oh, wait a minute, we got a question here. Maria, I think it's beautiful how Rebecca veiled herself so that Isaac is to be the first man to see her in their new home. Thank you. I try to share nice things too occasionally. Yeah, like I said, that's a dangerous position to take in a Muslim bar.
I'll say it.
Yeah, I would. Oh, I'm sure you would. Yeah. You got a good insurance policy on it?
Yeah, I do. Good. Say it, honey.
Yeah.
When I was in Egypt, we had this guy, I think he was the guide, and he told me that we both worship the same God.
Wycliffe Bible translators did a slight misservice to us, because when they translated our scriptures into Farsi and into Arabic, they used Allah, where God appears, or Yahweh. And because of Wycliffe Bible translators' decision to do that, to communicate to the masses what it means, there is a confusion. Words have meaning.
I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't go into any detail though.
No, you know. Yeah.
I valued my life.
Yeah, it's also dangerous to argue,
Especially with men in Egypt.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
That's intimidating.
Mhm.
So I have a question.
Okay.
Keturah, according to the end of it, is his concubine.
Yep.
Now, is that a wife or a lower level wife, or?
It is a lower level wife. She was not a marriage that brought a political alliance.
Are there any other differences?
She may have been a slave.
I kind of got the feeling that this Abraham and Keturah is taking place before Isaac meets Rebecca. Before or right after, maybe the same point in time. And as he's having sons, he wants Isaac and these sons to be separate from the beginning, from the get-go. And Keturah could have been a house slave or house maid to Sarah at some point. And it almost seems like in that culture that even as a wife passes away or you're getting up there in age, to marry someone isn't just for physical fulfillment, but it's do you have somebody there to care for you as the sheik, as the leader, and establishing that hierarchy and that rank of I'm still here, I'm still alive, I'm taking on another wife, we're having sons, and she cares for me.
Yeah.
And takes care of me in my old age.
Right. Absolutely.
My footnote says her name means spices,
Huh.
particularly frankincense and myrrh from southern Arabia.
Oh, cool.
So she probably was, if not a slave, certainly.
She was one of the Spice Girls.
She was
spicy.
spicy. She was a spice girl.
My footnote says, or had taken her,
Mhm.
since Abraham would have been 140 years old at this time.
Yeah.
A new wife at 140. That's optimistic.
It has
Well, he
6
has
sons
sons.
by her.
I know.
Yeah.
But you also wonder, and maybe I'm reading way too much.
That's what we're here for, wondering.
Yeah, if Isaac wasn't pleased that Abraham took a new wife because he was so close to his mother that
I
that's
mean,
why he left.
It does say,
Yeah.
so Isaac was comforted after his mother's death.
Mhm. By Rebecca.
There's a void there.
Yeah, he was
Yep.
having a hard time.
Yeah. So I just wondered if he left Abraham because he didn't like what was happening.
Or they may have had too many sheep for the same
Mhm.
fields.
Yeah, like
Same thing
us.
that happened with Lot.
right.
But Sarah's tent went with him.
Although, did Abraham send that tent with him because Abraham sent the servant to get? He knew that
Mhm.
that was in the plan.
We don't know.
Yeah.
But, there.
Yeah, it says part of the marriage preparation,
Mhm.
okay,
Right,
there
right.
goes the tent and you go get the bride.
Right.
and-
Yeah.
And then it'll come
Yeah.
here.
I'll be here in Hebron. Thank you very much. Got better things to do than chase all over the real estate.
No, I got my own new wife.
Yeah.
You newlyweds have fun down there in the desert.
The Negev. Let me pop this off. Forgive me, my knee got stiff driving back yesterday from Texas. So.
I wonder how that
You
went.
guys just came back.
Yeah, we came back yesterday.
Where you spent the night then?
Yeah, we did.
Oh.
We went on Wednesday and Harry did a presentation yesterday morning.
Oh,
Yeah.
It turned out well.
good.
Well, I liked it.
Well, yeah, and you were really good. They had a really good setup. A really good technology that worked well with his technology.
Yeah, I was able to walk in the crowd and point. Had picture broadcast behind me. Was able to point at the individual thing and answer questions while I'm walking among the tables, which is a
There were
lot.
about 50 people, but we might have been the youngest ones in the room.
Yeah,
So,
that was fun though.
but it was fun.
Was it at a church?
Oh yeah, First Presbyterian in Amarillo.
A very beautiful church with stained glass windows and
Oh.
organ and
I love it.
and they have tons, and so they're very old, but they're maintaining that, but at the same time, it's not in a stuffy way. They also are doing lots of preschool things and kids stuff and all of that. They have a place that they open up every Friday night after the Texas Friday night football games, so that there's an alternative place for the
Well,
kids to go.
Oh, I love that.
And yeah, so they're very involved with the community. So.
And at one point, they had that house already on their grounds. It burned down, and the other 3 churches in the area ponied up money to pay the deductible on their insurance
Wow.
so they could rebuild it because their teenagers were using the same
Mhm.
Christian house to get together after football games.
Oh, wow.
Off the streets.
Right,
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's
just-
like 4 denominations
That's
working
so
together.
awesome. I love
to
that.
take care of the kids. Yeah, it really was really neat.
I love that.
Okay. Abraham is living to a ripe old age. And unfortunately, we're getting to the end of it in verses 7 through 11. Who's up?
Is that me?
Yeah, I think it's you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, you had all the names.
I think you. I think you
Yeah,
had some
yeah.
names too. I think.
Abraham lived 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last and died at a good old age, an old man and full of years, and he was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite, the field Abraham had bought from the Hittites. Then there Abraham was buried with his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who then lived near Beer-lahai-roi. Is that what you wanted?
That's where we're at. The 2 primary sons come back together to bury their father. Abraham is dead. Isaac and Ishmael both perform the burial rites in the cave of Machpelah in Hebron. You'll see this brothers who are not always somewhat acrimonious relationships come together for their father's funerals and make their peace as well.
What would it mean after Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac? Did he hear from God, or just blessings as in wealth?
He blesses him in terms of wealth, and he is blessed. He has become the leader of Abraham's household. We're not told what happens to Keturah. Probably she does not become his concubine, but that could happen.
Oh,
Ew, what? Really? Wait.
Yeah,
your stepmother.
Ew. Okay.
Well, somebody's got to take care of
Oh
her,
my
right?
God.
yeah. It would be his responsibility, either her son's or his responsibility. Some male leader, yes, Patsy, I know, has to be responsible for the woman to make sure she has a place to live, food, and is cared for. Now, she may have gone with one of her eldest son.
Mhm.
We're not told. Which
She
is,
could already be gone.
Yeah.
Before he died.
yeah, that may have happened.
It's so wild to me that before the last 100 years, that, I mean, we use the word clout. Okay?
Yeah.
But a woman, a wife, daughter, niece, whatever, if she's walking somewhere in any part of the world, who are you and where are you from? Well, this is my dad, and these are my brothers. Ooh,
Yeah.
you know, that would keep her from danger,
Yeah.
from theft, rape, assault,
Yeah.
any one of those reasons. So throughout history, we see this, and our modern look is, wow, women are really treated poorly. No, actually, they're very, very treasured, and many men will go to war and die to protect the women in their clan.
Oh, yeah.
So, and the more aggressive, more powerful your father and brothers are, the more clout and protection you have. Because without them, you starve to death.
Right.
And that's where cutting covenant
Mhm.
is critical, where you have two clans. You're merging the military strength of those two clans. If the leaders cut covenant together and exchange clothes in that bloody trench, because not only do you have your family here, if you are the daughter of Avram, and Mamre is his ally, if you are in trouble, Mamre's coming to your help too.
Right.
So we don't understand the idea of blood feud and alliance to that extent. We write pieces of paper. These people did cuneiform tablets to preserve treaties, but their word literally was their bond, and they would die for it. And you protect the property of your ally.
I mean, it's like almost no different than a wife taking her husband's last name. I'm taking his last name because now I'm in his home, and whoever he is, I am under his protection.
Mm-hmm.
And a mother's with sons. You know,
Yeah.
let's say her husband died, but she has multiple sons. Any one of her sons will take care of her.
Oh, yeah. And in the inheritance laws, if there are 4 sons, the eldest son gets a double portion
take
to
of
care for his mother.
Right. Right.
So really, if 40% of the wealth goes to the eldest son, who has the responsibility and privilege of caring for his mother. Now, if he dies, the next oldest son
Right.
would, take that responsibility.
And it's so easy to read through the scripture and see women as a second-class citizen, but yet many, many men have gone to war to protect the women in their families and
Yeah.
homes, like bloody.
Yes.
And to keep their clan alive, because it's through the women that your clan continues to exist. Interesting.
Oh yeah.
Well, I was thinking of when you're talking about that, in the soccer games nowadays where they exchange jerseys at the
Mhm.
end,
Mhm.
you know, it's like
Yeah.
this is a clan type of thing.
Yeah. It's showing respect, mutual respect. It's been a tough game. You guys won, we lost, but there's a shared camaraderie. We were both in the arena together.
Mhm.
And there are only echoes of what former civilizations considered the norm. Of course, their soccer game was a little more bloody.
Right.
Yes, sort of like the Mayans, ball
yeah.
court game. The winning team gets executed to the gods. Isn't it wonderful? I think I'll throw this game, guys. Okay. Other questions or thoughts? None coming in. So, okay. Who's up for Ishmael and
And all
those
names.
tongue
I can do it.
twisters? Okay.
Now, this is the genealogy of Ishmael, Abraham's son, who Hagar, the Egyptian, Sarah's maidservant, bore to Abraham. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth, then Kedar, Abdeel, Mibzban, Mishma, Duma, Masa, and Hadar. Tema, Jator, Naphish, and Kedemar. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these were their names, by their towns and their settlements. 12 princes, according to their nations. These were the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people. They dwelt from Havilah as far as Shur, which is east of Egypt, as you go towards Assyria. He died in the presence of all his brethren. This is the genealogy of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah his wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Paddan, the sister of Laban the Syrian. Now Isaac pleaded with the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord granted his plea, and Rebekah his wife conceived. But the children struggled together within her, and she said, "If all is well, why am I like this?" So she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, 2 people shall be separated from your body. One people shall be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger.
Okay, let's stop it there.
Yeah.
Okay. Ishmael is going all the way across down here from Egypt all the way through Shur down to Havilah, which is over in what is now Midian, or we would think of it in modern terms near Petra and up on the Jordanian plateau. Whereas Keturah's children go further south into Saudi Arabia. These are 12, he has 12 sons, and those sons found their own clans that are living through these areas. A question that you can ponder, and I don't have a good answer for because it's not in scripture, and archaeologists don't have a lot of textual information. Where did the Amalekites come from? Are they related to Ishmael? Are they related to Abraham's kids? We have no genealogy of the Amalekites. We know that Esau will form Edom. We know where the Ammonites came from and Moab, the children of Lot. But the Egyptians record that there are Shashu of Yahweh. That's their name for, it's either bandit or Bedouin. They're not sure quite what the Egyptians meant by it. Living in this area that are tribes that are worshiping the one God, Yahweh, out in the Sinai Peninsula. So whose sons are they? We don't know. It's not something that you could go to Google and get a good answer for. But think about the impact of Abraham and monotheism, not just in Israel and sons of Isaac, but did Ishmael already have the understanding of the one God? His mother was an Egyptian, his wife is an Egyptian, but living near Abraham's territory, is he hearing the stories of what his father's doing, of the one God that Abraham, the God, singular, of Abraham, Ishmael, Abraham and Isaac, Hagar, yeah.
You know, that's an interesting point of view, because throughout the history of the world, all peoples had multiple gods. And right now in the world, there's more people than there's ever been. And a single God is more popular than not. Whether you be Christian, Jew, or Muslim, which are the big three,
Yeah.
but even Buddhist. So other than India, I can't think of any other group of people that have multiple gods.
Not as a large nation, no.
Right.
Sub-Saharan Africa, I'm never sure about.
Sure.
You know,
So we've gotten to the point now, and that's something special that God has done through Abraham and his people. We've got to a point now where we have almost 8 billion people on the planet, and 7.5 billion of them believe in a single God. Now, he may have different names,
yep.
he may have, but it's one.
Yep.
So he's been able to whittle all the other gods down. But then in this country, we worship other things like football teams,
Gold.
gold,
Money.
media, and people.
There's
But
always
didn't
Saint
you say
Hilary.
also that Ishmael and Hagar had the first prayer?
Yes,
So Ishmael kind of knew God then.
Yeah. and God spoke directly to
Yeah.
his mother.
Mhm.
You know, he's
So they had a relationship.
yeah. There's a relationship, and I wanted to point that out tonight because I really didn't hit it hard last week. That the blessing of Abraham's belief and faith is spread across the Sinai area, the Negev, certainly. And we make a big deal about monotheism because it was the philosophers in the 1880s through 1920s. Yes, please. Thank you. But Abraham influenced his sons. They grew up watching him worship Yahweh and being blessed. I'm not saying the prosperity gospel is good, but you can make a connection between faith in God and being blessed by God that's pretty hard to break if you see it growing up.
Yeah.
Thank you, dear.
And you see that in wealth. You see that in how many sons he had. You see that in territory he controlled. You see that in his age.
And the
Yeah.
protection.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
that God
He is
protected him.
protected. Yeah. Now, troubles still come to him.
Sure.
There's famine in the land. He goes down to Egypt. He takes action, but God continues to bless him through the trials that he's experiencing. So there's a message there: be faithful to the Lord. Be faithful to his word. Don't get outside the four squares of it, and make sure that what you are believing is in alignment with the majority of Scripture. Don't just pick two verses, one from Isaiah, another one from Second Hesitations, and make a doctrine on it. Well, you know, the prosperity gospel takes Paul's words completely out of context. And because people don't look at the whole body of Scripture, they're going down a really bad road. Okay, end of my sermonizing. Let's get back to something important like
Babies.
Abraham became the father of Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife that she could have children. His prayer is much stronger than Laban's blessing to have thousands of offspring. God hears him. She's having a rough pregnancy and inquires of the Lord. How she inquired, we're not told. Was she praying to God? God, I hate being pregnant. Why does it hurt so much? Why do they kick so much? 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger. This sounds like a riddle coming out of Delphi. But God is telling her 2 nations, Israel and Edom, Esau's children, Jacob's children, will come out of your body. Mazel tov. So God predicted to the mother that these 2 boys are going to be in conflict with each other. There'll be 2 separate nations. Probably not what she had in mind.
So I have a homework assignment for you.
Oh, goodness.
So in verse 22, where it says she went to inquire of the Lord,
Mhm.
in English, those are the same thing that is used when we talk about at when they would have use the ephod and inquire of the Lord.
I will check what it is in the Hebrew.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a fair question because there isn't an ephod yet.
Right.
You don't have the Urim and the thimble.
right.
They haven't
Right.
been made yet by Bezalel. It's and
But
Moses
later
is
that
still
is the
generations
word.
away.
Yes, but that is the words that are used later, and to do that.
I'll compare it to these verses and move forward to the time of David.
Yeah, I have a bunch of them. in First
Okay,
Samuel.
cool.
I can
Yeah,
find them
okay.
pretty easy.
Well, and also in mine it says that she went to inquire of the Lord and that she might have gone to a nearby place of worship.
One characteristic of Abraham is he always built altars. And you could go to an altar to inquire of the Lord. You'd make a sacrifice. But God speaks audibly to her. Doesn't say he appeared, but it says the Lord said to her. So we have Hagar, who begs the Lord. And first he tells her, you go back and stay with your mistress. Be submissive to her. I've got it covered. I'll bless your son. By the way, you're having a son. And then when they're exiled, she cries again to him, to the God who hears. And he speaks to her. Same thing's happening to Rebecca. In fact, we're probably hearing more in these verses about women hearing directly from God than you're hearing about Abraham and Isaac hearing directly from God. Isaac prays, let my wife become pregnant and bear me sons.
I bet he was hoping he wouldn't be as old as his father when he
Yeah.
finally had that.
Yeah. That family does not have a
Yeah.
good track record on fertility.
And I bet because of, I bet that Rebecca didn't realize she was having twins. I mean,
No.
probably wasn't in a position to tell her. So she probably wondered what was happening to her.
I mean, well, how frequently do women have twins now? I don't know.
Often.
Often now.
Yeah. I
But
don't know back then.
in this type of environment, having children is a dangerous thing for women. You have a midwife. You don't have an obstetrician. You have a tent floor or maybe animal skins, but you don't have a full OB clinic
Right.
or hospital,
Mhm.
there are no anesthesiologists standing by to give you a spinal.
No
No.
prenatal care.
Yeah. So, part of the reason that men often would be married 2 or 3 times is a wife would die in childbirth or from the infection post child's birth. So it's putting on my archaeology hat. About 3 in 5 children died before age 5 in this period. Even today in Korea, a child isn't given a real name until their 100-day naming ceremony, because it reflects the culture that this child may not survive 100 days. And if they make it 100 days, they'll probably survive. We got a good shot.
But what's neat, they call that them 1 year old after 100 days. At least in olden times.
Oh, because of the time of conception.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like that.
Isn't
Oh,
that?
yeah.
Ah.
When Megan and Jacob were adopted Gideon, we went to Korea with them, help take care of Lily and whatever. And Pat she has the 100-day photos for all 3 of our adopted kids. And the foster mother who's taking, in Gideon's case, she had Gideon for almost 2 years, fostered to her. And Pat having those pictures of her children, one of those children is adopting Gideon. She was just wow. She thought this was great. So she didn't have to worry, are these Caucasian grandparents going to love the baby I fostered for 2 years? And it was, when you're sitting there playing with him on the floor, and she's showing pictures to the grandma, and her daughter is translating. It was a beautiful moment.
So when their birthday comes, how old are they? Or is it always celebrated on the 100th day?
Well, the 100 day, they have a cake,
Right.
and a big cake, and they have a candle. Yeah, I don't know what they do now because it's different. But
Do they get 2 1-year-old birthdays?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering when it does come up. Or do they
No.
always celebrate it on?
no, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
The 100 day.
Is the birthday after the first year
I don't know.
on the 100th day,
I
or is
don't
it on
know.
their birthday?
Yeah. we
I
need to
would think
find
it would be
out.
on their
We
birthday.
need
I would.
I need to know.
We'll ask them and she'll-
Okay, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
figure it out.
Yeah, we need to know. Tell us.
Yeah, that's your homework assignment.
Okay, all right. We got these important details.
Okay.
Okay. Korean birthdays.
Okay.
Okay, who's up to verse 24?
I'll do it.
Okay. Okay. Well, you can go the entire chapter. How about verse 24 through?
34.
Yeah.
Yeah, just let's finish out the chapter. We'll get that done, and then we'll be closing tonight.
When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man staying among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once, when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." This is why he was also called Edom. Jacob replied, "First sell me your birthright." "Look, I am about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright.
Does the word sibling rivalry have a meaning here?
I mean, this is a nice snippet story, but they've probably been fighting their entire life.
Well, my footnote says they started in the womb.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Heel catcher. One who trips you. Jakob. That's what his name means, is heel catcher.
Hmm.
So, were they always fighting? Yeah. Esau, red. He will found Edom, which also means red. Dad likes his big, strapping, wild game hunting, out in the wild man. Rebecca likes Jacob, who lives in the tents quietly. Two totally different personalities. The parents gravitate to the son that they love. This is not good. This makes for family conflict instantly. And then you're given the short vignette of Esau was out hunting and he was famished. He came in hungry and he comes into the tent and his brother has a pot of lentil soup. Now, this would be probably in a jar about this size with a whole mouth jar on the top. It would have been on top of we would call them a horno, a bread making thing, but it would be called a taboon there. But you put the stew pot on the smoke hole for your bread maker, and that's how you heat the soup. So there would be bread being baked at the same time that they're warming the stew. Same fire.
Smart.
Bet it would have smelled good.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm hungry.
Yeah.
visualize a couple of late teen boys. One guy's making soup in or near his tent. You don't cook in your tent. The taboon or the horno, if same shape, would be outside of the tent. Why? Because tents burn. Okay. But Jacob's making it. That should be traditionally women's work. But Jacob's doing it. And Esau goes, I've got to have some. I'm famished. I got to have that. Give me some red stew. Give me the lentil. And he goes, you have to sell me your birthright. Now, is this a taunting offer from sibling? I'm the younger brother by 15 seconds, and I want your birthright. I won't give you anything to eat. Are they bantering back and forth? Esau apparently is.
Have they done this before?
Mhm. That's
Yeah.
what it seems like to me. That
Yeah.
this is like a thing that they do.
It's very much a Tom and Dickie Smothers routine from
Yeah.
the 60s. I mean, Mom always liked you best, but it's the banter that you see between brothers, and Esau doesn't think anything of it. Yeah, I'll sell you my birthright. I just want some stew and bread. And his brother Jacob gives it to him. But the last sentence in verse 34, so Esau despised, or Esau scorned his birthright as beneath his notice. He said, birthright, I'm hungry, give me something to eat. Assuming that he will be the sheik, no matter what he and Jacob say to each other.
And what is the birthright for people that?
Okay, the birthright is you will become the sheik, you will have the property, and you will be the leader of the clan. If you're looking for a leader of a clan, Isaac would look at Esau and go, he's the guy that will protect our flocks. He's the guy that if somebody raids us, he'll whack them back. Once again, we're going back to the mafia. You hit me, I hit you. Esau's going to hit harder than Jacob is.
And tradition, it is the firstborn.
And the firstborn, unless unless he proves himself unqualified for the job, gets the birthright and the senior blessing. The blessing normally going to the eldest son is that, and your brothers will serve you, as the ending statement. They will be subservient to you. And your sons will become the next sheiks. Their sons will not, unless the sheik looks around and goes, these guys are idiots. My nephew's pretty good. I'll elevate him. And you see that happening in the Saudi kingdom right now. You've got a fourth son, the son of, the new prince, crown prince who is running the show, is the fourth son. He's not the first three. They were disqualified by their father.
For what?
The oldest was disqualified because he tended to like visiting Europe too much and European women and alcohol. He was not strict enough
Okay.
in the Wahhabi form of Sunnism. So, he had his reasons to disqualify. So the prince is not the firstborn, but you've got to really screw up to not be selected. But this story to me sounds like they're bantering back and forth. They've probably done this before, and it's, I won't give you that unless brothers do that. But Jacob was serious. Esau, whatever you and I say to each other, I'm still going to get the blessing from Dad. You know that, I know that. He's confident that he can say anything he wants to Jacob, and Jacob will not be able to capitalize on it.
My footnote says that also part of the heart of the birthright was the covenant promise.
Yep.
That Isaac had inherited from Abraham, that he would inherit
Yes, he would have the
promised
blessing.
land.
Yeah. May Yahweh protect you and bless you, my son. And may your brothers bow down to you.
And if it wasn't God's will, it wouldn't have happened that way anyway.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So good. Yeah. Because they were joking with each other if they were joking.
Yeah.
If he's always joking.
Yeah. Be careful what you say in jest. It may come back to bite you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We have completed chapter 25. We're halfway through Genesis.
Yay.
And if there are questions out there, please send them in the next minute. Otherwise, I'll be shutting down the stream and we'll have a short.
Better be
I know,
already.
When I was watching from home, I'd be like, I can't type it that fast.
Yeah, well, I haven't had a question for 22 minutes,
I
so
know.
it's like, it's called due and timely notice if you're into the Masonic Lodge, which I'm not.
So here's you'd mentioned heard a teaching. I think it was John MacArthur. I don't remember. It may have been James Dobson. So, and I've said this to my friends that are Muslim. Well, he believed in God of Abraham, and I worship and believe in God of Abraham. We have the same God. We just have different viewpoints on, what end times, what is salvation, etc. And I've always said that. I've said that many times in front of them, and they all agree. But anyway, this teacher, again, I don't know who it was, says, do we have the same God? So here's an interesting thing is we believe in the God